Hello and welcome to episode 42 of the Boxing Social podcast in association with Betfred. With me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, just like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn those notifications on for more boxing. Now that's out of the way, I am joined by regular Boxing Social co-host, former WBO super-featherweight champion of the world, Barry Jones. Barry, how are you? Nice to see you.
I'm here every week. What are you on about?
So don't make out that you're complaining about it, Barry.
No, I'm not. It's
the only person who gives him any work anymore. He's complaining. Terrible.
No, you took the piss out of me last time I was here about, there's Andy Clark of fucking Talk Fucking Sport and the other fella, Adi Oladipo of DAZN and the green chair, whatever that is, and Barry Jones, no fixed the boat. I got the fucking world champion. I'm the only one who boxed. Like, of all of them, I won something. I know it was a long time ago and it was WBO, but regardless of that, right, and it was sort of paid for me, really, but regardless of that, I'd still achieve something, and I'm like, if it's fucking Andy Lee, yeah, before he's worked for DAZN, you go, it's fucking Andy Lee, WBO champion. But you've only gone, no fixed the boat, Andy.
Anyway, Barry, it's good to have you.
I'm not even angry. I don't know why.
He hasn't been festering on that at all since the last time we had him on the podcast.
All off the top of my head.
But anyway, we've got you in because, of course, it is Welsh Week on Boxing Social. It's Liam Williams versus Chris Eubank Jr. coming this weekend, because we'll put it out on Monday, in Cardiff. You're from Cardiff, aren't you?
I am from Cardiff. Don't say I'm from Swansea.
I didn't say. I was just.
No, but
I was just clarifying.
I've seen your phone when it says Barry from Swansea. Your phone when I ring.
Anyway. It's nice that Big Time Boxing has returned to Cardiff, over to Wales. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Williams, and a brilliant fight. One I'm very much looking forward to. How about yourself?
It's a great fight. It really is. I mean, literally in British boxing, if you wanted to, that would be sort of one of the top 10 fights you'd pick for really good matchup, for guaranteed action. That's what it'll be, and spicy as well. Because Eubank got the arrogance of his dad. Almost like he doesn't care. I don't know whether he does or not. He portrays he doesn't care what you say, and he sells it so well. And Liam Williams is a man that looks like you got a chip on his shoulder all the time. He needs that. He needs that anger to get him motivated, to fuel the fire. So he's always chomping at the bit all the time. And that's just a perfect clash of styles. You've got one guy who doesn't care what you say, and one guy who wants to just rip your throat out before you get in the ring, literally. And so, yeah, it'd be a great fight. And stylistically, their styles will gel really well.
One thing I wanted to speak to you about, you mentioned stylistically they'll gel really well. I'm not sure what Eubank we're going to see this weekend.
He has to revert back to... He will. He'll be forced to revert back to what he used to do with a big... That's a big output. He has to. He doesn't beat Liam Williams boxing like he has in his previous fights. Though, jumping in with the left hook, which is a Roy Jones trait, fucking literally trademark really should have been from him, is something that'll work against Williams. Because at that middle distance where you're in range but you're not quite in range, just before you're about to engage into a jab or something like that, that's where you can catch Liam Williams, and that's where you can jump in on him. But no, and I in my head I've been back and forth with this. I usually pick a winner and I stick with it. And this one I've gone back and forth who I think might win. And I think it's that sort of fight. And but I can genuinely see him jumping in with a left hook and hurting Williams. I mean, if he got him hurt, he could finish him. But also, I can also see Williams just going right into him and just start working him and hurting him. Because Eubank, I don't think you can stop Eubank. I think Eubank is innately tough. But yeah, this single shot selection thing that he got going on, it's not for him, for Eubank. He needs to be busy.
That's kind of where I was going with it, really. As we mentioned, we've seen in the last couple of fights where he's been under Roy Jones Jr.'s stewardship. Roy Jones, one of the best fighters to ever do it, but very much a unique talent and a unique style of fighting. And we've kind of seen let's call it for what it is, a poor imitation of that. Certain instances of the Marcus Morrison fight, the Wanick.
Yeah,
the Wanick fight, his last bout. It almost seems like he's trying to restructure the wheel again at this stage of his career. He's 32 now, Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah, with 31 fights, maybe, is it something like that? So he's had something like that. So he's had a good.
He's 31 wins, 2 losses.
There you go. And so he's had a good long career. It hasn't been massively tough, but some fights have been hard. Yeah, but you can't change. No, especially when you get to a certain age, you just can't change who you are overnight. But I think he sort of think because he got fast hands and fast feet, that you probably think he can do those things. But he doesn't have that raw power that his dad had, though he can hit. But he haven't got the raw power his dad had. He haven't got the raw power that Roy Jones had. That's people forget about the raw power he had, Roy Jones. Well, all just speed.
It's like the middleweight Roy Jones.
Yeah, it wasn't all speed and
yeah,
skill. He's like, he was knocking people out with flicks. It was weird, and and that's not just great timing. That's you have to have some raw power there. But I can see the thing with Roy Jones. I think Roy Jones as a coach reads the fight quite well. I think he reads an opponent quite well. But I don't think he can transfer that information to his fighter. Certainly in the gym, because he'll know what you have to do to beat that guy. But what you have to do, what he sees what you have to do, is what he would do. Well, yeah, that's what you would do. Well, no one else can do what you can do. So that's the problem he has. So he knows how to beat. He knows how to beat Dillian Williams, if he was fighting him. And then but you got to know how Chris Eubank can beat Chris Williams the way he fights. Not, well, this is how I would beat him, so you just do what I would do and that will work. Because that don't work. Or maybe it will, by the way. So he's saying, and they're both Eubank saying as well, but we're not trying to be the next Roy Jones. He's not forcing me to be the next Roy Jones. But there will be traits of things that he does, and that's nothing wrong with that. Because some things are foolproof if you can get them off. But I think what took away, I think I spoke to this the other week, when Eubank was throwing too many punches, everyone was saying, and me included, just slow down, you'll be much more effective. But then once he's slowed down, it's like, where's all those million punches you threw? That really, the guy can't throw back, or you're throwing too many shots at him. And then that's what he needs against Williams, because I think Eubank struggles with guys who can throw right on the track, right on the centre of the guard. And that's what Williams got good technique, and he'll slide into the distance really well, and he'll pop you right in the middle of that guard, because Eubank is like arms out like this. There's a wide gap in between his stance. And now with Roy Jones, he's going a little bit longer with the front hand to try and draw you in. And Williams, if he can get sliding low, he'll pop right through the middle of that, and that will cause Eubank trouble.
We sat and we previewed Demetrius Andrade versus Liam Williams. We both, I feel like, felt the fight would be, let's call it ways, closer than it turned out to be on the night. While Liam Williams did have some success in the fight, were you surprised there? Is that a warning sign for? I don't want to say he didn't show up, not that, but he didn't perform as we potentially expected. Was that more Andrade than it was Williams? Do you think that has any bearing on the potential for this fight?
I just think that You see Liam Williams. Liam Williams is one of these fighters who's at a certain level. A lot of fighters like this, just because you're absolutely battering people at one level, doesn't automatically guarantee you being better at the next level. And because some fighters just win at that level. I was perfect at that. I never battered anyone. I mean, I never stood anyone on their head in my life as a professional. But I just kept beating people. And then when I moved up a level, I just kept beating people. Close-ish, or I'd win by 3 or 4 rounds, but it was never a masterclass. I never totally dominated. I just won, and I had a habit of winning. So Williams don't do that. He batters people at a lower level. If you're not good enough to him, he annihilates you. But then once you get, he's sparring with the microphone again. I've missed you. But then when he goes up a level, then as he did with Andrade and also Liam Smith twice, take the first fight away, the second fight, he just wasn't quite good enough. There's no shame in that, and I think that's all it is. So we see him at one level looking destructive, and think, he's ready now. And then when he stepped up a level, he wasn't ready. Andre was just too good for him. I think he was just a class above him. That was it. He showed great grit and determination. He got hurt early, and he almost got stopped. And he dug in deep. And listen, his heart and his strength are not in question, Liam Williams. But by the way, nor is Chris Eubank Jr.'s heart and strength and chin. He has a better chin than Liam Williams, and that's a big factor to play as well. I think but I think Williams has to be the busier fighter, but I also think that there has to be real ring management, because he might gas out and quick. Because I don't think you'll find Eubank a hard target to hit, but I think he'll hit him and think he can hurt him, and I don't think he'll hurt him, and I think he might gas out and get stopped. That's the potential there. I think if anyone gets stopped, it's Williams, but I also fancy Williams to win.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that. I want to talk to you about the trainer change. And I'm just going through Liam Williams's record. I think the first fight that he had with Dom Ingle was the Mark Heffron fight. Looked fantastic in that fight.
Yeah.
Really good in that fight. Joe Mullender, obviously at a much lower level, stopped him. I think that was at it was at Royal Albert Hall. Kareem Ashur, Alantez Fox, Andrew Robinson, again kind of at a lower level while he was still the mandatory. But, looked good in all of those fights, stoppage wins, and then, of course, has the loss to Demetrius Andrade and has now changed trainers. So he had those wins with Dominic Ingle and, he's coming up, a lot of hype behind him, a lot of people, thinking that he was the man to potentially dethrone Demetrius Andrade. Has a loss, now goes to Adam Booth. Thoughts? I know the reason why I ask you this in particular is because I know your kind of thoughts on...
Yeah, it all helps. I mean, if you're stale, move on. If you're not happy, move on. That's fine. No, there's no... Everyone says there's no loyalty anymore in boxing. Maybe, but also boxers are not bullied like they used to before. And they feel free, they can do what they want to do. But I'm not saying that Dominic bullied. I think he was a great fit with Dominic. He was a great fit with Gary Lockett as well, by the way. But he got stale and wanted to move on. Maybe that was the same. I don't know. But there's obviously stories you know more than me. He's moved on. And Adam Smith, I think, is actually a good fit for him. Because he can punch a bit and he has a wide stance and the way he moves. I think Adam can work with him. Do it make it? I don't think he'll change him. If he do, he's a fool because he's good at what he does. But he has to tinker with some stuff, and I think it's mental. I think with Liam Williams, it's his lack of control in the ring. He loses his head. His discipline is discipline in a fight is actually shit. In most fights, it's shit. His ability is fantastic, and he punches hard, and he got a lovely jab, and his footwork's good, and he got a lovely balance. All the things for make a really good fighter, but his discipline at times, most times, is fucking awful. Like in a lot of fights, he gets he wants to destroy you, and he's too rough, and he rushes his work, or he fouls and things like he just does a lot of lets his head lead him too much, his heart leads him too much, I should say, and I think with Dominic Ingle, the notice was what I noticed that he kept calm because it was a different voice. Him and Gary were too friendly, I think, at the end. I think that's probably what happened. And then to the too close, so then he loses his temper. Gary can't pull him down. It's like a mate saying, don't fight. But then if your father tells you don't fight, you sit down when you're a kid. If your mate saying don't fight, you go, I'm doing what I want to do. I think it got to that point where Dominic Ingle was more like a teacher type thing, and he listened to him. Maybe that's finished, and he goes with Adam Booth, and he gets that again. But he'll need to be cool and not get carried away with any success he has, because if he runs out, Eubank won't run dry. His tank won't run dry, Eubank. I'm pretty sure of that. But I think Williams might. So he has to win rounds, and he can win rounds. He can win early rounds, and he can win rounds quite impressively. I actually think, especially if we're seeing the Eubank we're seeing today, throwing like one shot every 20 seconds, then I think Williams is a big favourite. All he can do is get knocked out. All he can do is get knocked out.
I know what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? That's all that can happen. He's not going to be outboxed by Eubank. But if Eubank goes back to the old Eubank, throwing lots of punches and not allowing Williams to lead first, or not allowing Williams any success, every time Williams lands, he throws 3, 4, 5, 6. Williams will lose his head, and he'll get a bit scrappy, and Williams will be butting him, pushing him, pulling him, and he'll lose his temper, and then Eubank can do a job on him.
I think you make a good point there about kind of throwing punches and bunches is kind of Eubank anyway. That's what you want to really see from him, no matter who he's fighting. But I remember going back to the Andrade-Williams fight, and the amount Andrade was able to let his hands go early, really impose himself on Williams. I felt like that was a key factor in the fight. A lot of people would, myself included, expected Williams to go there, give Andrade a really hard night. And within the first minute and a half of the fight, Andrade had gone there, let his hands go. And it kind of looked to me a little bit like Williams had... didn't quite have the confidence to grow into the fight. He had some success in patches later on in the fight, but that start from Andrade, which I think would be important for Eubank to have another start similar to that, where he goes, lets his hand go, and makes an impression on the fight early.
I would tell you something. Once that bell goes, Williams, they're going to be over the opposite sides of the ring. It'll be a big ring, I would imagine. As soon as that bell goes, Williams runs towards him. I guarantee it. He'll be right. He'll think, I'm going to get right on you now, because you don't work. right now. So he's going to look at the Eubank of. I was just tickling my balls then. He's going to look. I don't know why I was doing that, but it was nice, and I'm nice and relaxed. He's going to look at the Eubank now, not the Eubank we've seen in the past. So he's going to go. He don't want to throw lots of punches. I'm going to make him throw lots of punches. He wants to set me up, get me where he wants me, and then jump him with the left hook or feint me, let me draw my lead, and I'll throw. So I'm going to get right on him, and I'm going to throw in combinations, and they're going to be sharp and fast, and he can do that, and he can do that very well, especially the straight 1, 2, 3 for Williams will work really well for him. So he's going to run at him, but you just got to be careful you don't get caught. He got caught early in the Andre fight. He got hurt, and I think that just drained his confidence completely. It was a big occasion for him, first time away from home. It's a world title fight. A genuine world title fight with the Williams. The Smith fights were interim fights or whatever they were, and it was a big occasion. He came up against a guy who was just too big and too good, and that's another factor with Eubank. You look at their record and you think Eubank's probably had the better wins, but got the guys at different stages in their career where they weren't that good.
Just trying to think of what. Obviously, his best win would be James the Gale.
Yeah, but he didn't get the James.
No, exactly. I'm trying to think of other wins that he's had. Matt Korobov, he can't really.
It's not a win. It's a win.
A round and a half.
Yeah,
and he was that round and a half looked.
Well, look, I've said this before. William, I didn't want to like rain on his parade before, but name his best win.
Yeah, I was trying to think.
Gary Corcoran, Fox. Fox would be probably deemed as. Fox might have been good, but he didn't have. He just jumped all over Fox and battered him like
Fox
straight
went the
away.
distance with Andre, didn't he? And Williams.
But Styles, that is though. That's
and also Fox as well, who was like a beanpole. The way ended up moving up to 168.
And he hadn't beat nobody, since. And
again, you always have to be wary of rating somebody on their best loss. Okay, he went the distance with Demetrius Andre.
But that's what Williams was rated on.
Pretty much
on the Smith first fight, and the second fight was a close fight that he genuinely lost, but it was a close fight, and that's it though. But ultimately, every time he stepped up, he's lost, and the same can be said for Eubank. The 2 times that he stepped up are the 2 times he got beat in the stage of his career. No. And also, by the way, the guys that have beaten Eubank would beat Smith. That's the truth. And the guys that have beat Williams, sorry. Yeah, because I got Smith in my mind. The fighters that have beat Williams would probably beat Eubank. Andre would probably beat Eubank. I would put him. He would be a favourite. And Smith, the size. The only thing is you got the size difference.
It's difficult. You're 154.
Yeah, but Smith would be in a good shout to beat him, star-wise, to be fair. And so it's you're really thinking about their best wins. And it's not that great to look at. You tend to go that obviously Eubank got the better wins, and he's a bigger guy. That's the difference. He boxes the bigger weights, boxes super middleweight. He's a big middleweight already, but also Williams turned pro. People forget he turned pro as a middleweight. That's how he started.
He's big at middleweight as well. He's still a big middleweight.
And so they all go. He's a natural, but he did box. But all his successes all his big successes were at super welter, light middle.
Final question on the main event. Andy Clark sat, I think he was there, on our big 2022 preview and said...
He took so much sense, Andy.
I know.
But that what you're gonna quote him on now was absolute bollocks.
So he picked Chris Eubank Jr. as his domestic fighter to win a world title this year. So my question to you is, the winner of this fight, be it Eubank, be it Williams, where do they go next? And can the winner of this fight win a world title?
No. I don't think so. I think they get pushed towards the world title, and fair enough, it's a big fight. The thing in this era, big fights, big occasion fights, put you at top of the list. It's almost like a popularity contest rather than if you're better than the guys around you. That's sometimes a good and a bad thing. I don't know, but either way, that's what. Because it's a big name fight. There was a lot of attention, and it'd do really well, I'm sure. There are a lot of people watching, it'd be sold out, and it'd be a good fight to watch. Then they'd both be talking world title shots, because Eubank thinks he sort of won the version of it, sort of, and Williams will think that he beat Smith the first time and would have won that interim title. So, and he's boxed for the world title before as well. And you'll find, like any box, you'll find excuses why you lost. It's one because he was better than me. It was because I got caught early and blah blah blah.
Didn't do the weight.
Yeah, we all make excuses except for me because I just was lucky to be in the ring in the first place. But but that's true. We all make excuses, or we do. And I just think that. But I can't see either one of those beating any of the top 5, 6 middleweights.
You got what? Golovkin, Murata getting on a bit as well. Murata,
yeah.
mid to late 30s.
I almost forgot about Murata because in my mind Golovkin's already beat him, but
I don't even know if that fight's going to happen.
I know it won't, will it?
No, and if you look at reports recently, Canelo Alvarez has been offered the Jamal Charlo fights, which would mean that there's a vacant title there. And he's also been offered Bivol and Golovkin by Matchroom, which could potentially free up a Ryota Murata. Eubank's gone down that WBA route. I think he held an interim title with the WBA, and the full champion was Ryota Murata, or he was the regular champion since being elevated. It gets very confusing, as we all know, around world title fights. Let's just touch a little bit on the undercard and the debut of Caroline Dubois. We've spoken seemingly more so recently and more so over recent times about women's boxing more and more. Caroline Dubois, we were in the gym with her a couple of weeks ago. Looks very excited to make a professional debut. Looking forward to her debut, Barry.
Looking forward to anyone. When there's big talk about anyone turning pro, I haven't really seen much of her, to be fair. So how good she is, I'm not quite sure. But there's been a lot of talk about her. Like, I live in sort of on the outskirts of southwest London, so she was sort of Dale Youth, wasn't she? And so there's been a lot of talk about how good this girl is. But it's against well opposition. That's what I tend to think. But since she went to the Olympics at a young age, that's good experience for her. And she went all the stuff at youth level. So that's an indicator really that she has ability. But I also think let's just let her develop. I worry about because she's young. Just let her develop. Women's boxing is hard because you get the 4 fights, and you've got to fight for the world title because there's no one else to fight at the minute. There's more people doing it, and that'll change over the time. But right now, you get elevated quickly. So. Yeah, I think just let her have a few fights first, and then just get a big one under the way. It's a big occasion for her. It's a big spotlight, and she'll do well, and she'll be well matched for it. And that's all. And it's just how she copes with the pressure, because they're all quite introvert, aren't they? The Dubois family, so they seem. So if she can just cope with the pressure and the limelight, then she'll be a success, I'm sure.
We're looking forward to seeing her debut. Before we move on, the other Welshman on the card, Chris Jenkins versus Julius Ndongo. That was sort of like one of those, pick one from one hat and pick a name from the other hat. But not a fight that I expected to see on this card, but an opportunity for Chris Jenkins to get a win over a former unified world champion in Julius Ndongo.
Forget that, don't we? He was in a big... he was in a big unification fight, wasn't he, with Terence Crawford?
And he's also unified champion in the regard of winning a world title and then unifying against another champion, rather than you see unified champions pick up multiple belts at once.
Commentating on his Trojanovsky.
Yeah, first round blowout.
Yeah, mad, wasn't it?
Caught him with a left hook that he started at the back of the hall and somehow landed bang on the chin.
But you've got to go with that. He's old and he's past it, and I was a weight above. But you tend to think, people, boxers like him, when they go up in weight, is because they just age. You just get thicker set. So I think, Jenkins, the thing with Jenkins, he's the most unluckiest fighter in the country. After Callum Johnson. but he is. He's really lucky. But cuts all the time. The kid has no luck. He wins a British title, can't get a defence. Because there's no money really being put behind him because he can't sell tickets or whatever it is.
Could have had that Conor Ben fight if it wasn't for promotional politics.
Yeah, that would be a massive pay. That's really bad. That's really bad. Someone there, I don't know whose fault it was. I don't care, but someone there should have gone. This kid's not going to get this opportunity again. Forget about my business. This kid, if he loses the title, it don't matter to you. If you're his promoter, it doesn't matter to you. Because he's not selling on the arenas for you. He's an undercard. He's second on the card, third on the card of a big bill at best. That's the truth. So but he's a good fighter. Let him have his big payday. He might win. At that time, he had more experience. Conor Ben was still really raw. Yeah, to be fair.
You talk about Conor, but this is pre-Sammy Vargas Conor Ben.
Exactly. So you think, hang on, that was the biggest step up. That was a massive step up at the time for Conor Ben. In the hindsight now, I think he would have got through it. To be fair, but at the time it was we'll see how good he is now. And so But Chris Jenkins gets money that would have not changed his life, but would have made a big difference to his life. So, but it didn't happen for him. And so he's unlucky. And so the fact is, I think he can beat Ndongo because Ndongo's like 300 years old. But he's so unlucky, he'll probably get a cut on his forehead or something like that in the first round and get stopped. That's another no contest to add to his massive list of no contests he got going on in his career.
Yeah, I think I would have been interested to see what the disparity between the Echo Esserman paycheck and the potential Conor Benn paycheck would have been.
Zeros, isn't it? Like it's just it's the difference between boxing a 6 round and a 12 rounder. That's the truth. It would be, wouldn't it? And that's no. I mean, he probably got paid what he was worth for the Esserman fight. To be fair, what the fight was worth, but he should have been allowed his big moment.
Okay, moving on. Later on that night, we see the return of another former unified champion. Keith Thurman returns to the ring against Mario Barrios. Keith used to be Keith one-time Thurman, then became Keith sometimes Thurman, and now Keith once upon a time Thurman.
Keith the Sherman.
Have you seen his hair?
No, I haven't seen it for a while.
It's a very interesting. He doesn't have the
ponytail.
Didn't
he go off in the mountain somewhere and do something?
I think so. Yeah, he's quite a
Sherman
spirit.
Thurman.
Yeah, he's Sherpa, not Sherman.
Sherpa.
I think he's quite a spiritual man.
I almost got it.
Mr. Thurman. But yeah, are you excited for his return? He hasn't boxed since Manny Pacquiao.
He's a weird, because he got that weird sort of style. I always thought that he's going to get beat by somebody, but he's good, isn't he? And he finds a way to win all the time. Like, not all the time, obviously. But
his last fight.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, from early days. Like, he might not get over the line, this kid, but he's good. And I think, why is he, like, where you been? You're in a really good weight, where you can earn some good money. There's stars in your weight, and you could be potentially one of them, and you've gone, like, walkabout and disappearing.
Well, I think he's struggled with some injuries over the years, and he has boxed some. He's boxed some good names in the division. He's boxed your Danny Garcias, Sean Porter, those types of guys. So I think he kind of, outside of him boxing Errol Spence, where I don't think he there was a period of time when he was champion and Spence was on his way up, where obviously he kind of pushed him to one side, and I think there's a hint of that now in the other way, with Spence thinking, I tell you what,
can't
mate,
blame him.
Yeah, you didn't give me my opportunity. But good to see him back in the ring. I think Thurman's one of those characters in boxing who sells a fight really well, talks a good game. More often than not, he's in good fights. Can't think of too many stinkers. The Danny Garcia fight was great to watch. It was kind of the path of least resistance he boxed against Danny Garcia. Really kind of won the rounds and then danced around him. But do you think he could potentially still be a threat at welterweight, or is his time
I think he might have passed him by. Barrios is a hard fight for him.
Is that because of what you've seen from Barrios, or do you think, or more so where Thurman could potentially be at in his career? His last bout was July 2019.
I would say a little bit of both, but probably more the decline of Thurman, I would have thought, to be honest. At this stage of your career, do you want a young guy who can bang up against you? I don't know. I mean, you take what fight you can give him, but I mean, I just got a feeling that fighters, when they get older and longer in the tooth, and they've had big fights and they've been with big names, that they just don't have the same attention to detail with fighters like this, because they just think you're not a big name. You might be potentially a really good fighter, and you might have it all, but right now you're not. So I can think their focus is the same. Because they've been up there. So every fight now is just getting you back there. So you don't. I mean, you train hard, and you go in that fight to win. You due diligence, if you will, but that little bit of extra spark that you need for that focus, I just don't think it'll be there.
In the welterweight division, where do you see the land? Where do you see the land lying? Who's your 1, 2, 3,
Jaron Ennis
4,
is going to
5?
take over, isn't he, Rob?
I believe so.
He is. No, he will in the end, but not.
He's boxing Custio Clayton, I think.
No, he wipes the floor with him.
Yeah.
No, to be fair.
I think it might be a final eliminator for the IBF.
I think if it all goes, I think.
Who's your number 1?
Oh, Crawford. Clearly Crawford.
Clearly? Is he clearly the number 1 welterweight?
Yeah, I think he is. I used to think that Crawford was better pound for pound, but Spence was the number 1.
What I've always thought. I'm still kind of clinging onto it by my fingernails.
I'm not now. I don't see. I was going to say, when I mentioned Crawford, I was going to mention Crawford and think, but you can say that about Spence. Like, he's nasty. You can say, well, Spence. They don't come across nasty. Or like Crawford does come across nasty, but Spence doesn't. But I think he has that little bit of a nasty streak in him, and he's neater than Crawford. But I just think the athleticism of Crawford, where he can throw his punches from, I think, and I thought about the size for a while because Spence is massive for the weight, but I don't think that. I think Crawford's got a massive long reach. He uses it really well, makes you work, and he looks at you. He studies you for those first couple of rounds. What do people say when it gets on my tits?
Downloads the data.
Wanger. Yeah. Downloads the data. He downloads the data. No, but he does have a good look at you.
Yeah.
And he doesn't prod and probe and all that. It's not that technical. But he has a good look and see what you're like, why you react to certain things, certain moves. And if you don't react, then he hurts you, I think. And I just think he gives you too many problems to think about for you to really be massively effective. Where Crawford can be where Spence is really good and can be effective, I just think he'll give him too many things to think about for you to think about your offense too much. You're thinking, what's coming back, because it's not just if I throw a lazy jab, a right hand comes over the top. It's that, or an uppercut, or he turns around to the side and throws a hook, or the body shot comes in. He gives you too many problems. He reacts to your mistake differently every time, and I think that's where you struggle with him. It made all that up actually, but it sounds brilliant, doesn't it?
Sounds great, Barry. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I.
While we're kind of hovering around the welterweight division, talking about the welterweights, Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas seems to be the fight that's in the works.
Talking about Ugas like he's a walkover, man.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Something that we mentioned the other day, didn't we? When Conor Benn was talking about his next line of opponents, he was talking about Maurice Hooker, Robert Guerrero, or Yordenis Ugas. And I was kind of looking at it and going, one of those names isn't really like the other two, with all due respect to Maurice Hooker and Robert Guerrero. Is there a potential for an upset there, do you think?
Yes, I do think so.
Because we've obviously seen Errol Spence in the last couple of years. He's had the eye injury, he had the car crash. He's not been the most active. Yordenis Ugas, it seems like he's one of those fighters who's had to work for everything in his career, and he's just starting to hit that purple patch now in his career. I thought he beat Sean Porter personally.
Yeah, but also with Ugas, how old is he?
I think he's 35 or 6.
Okay, so he's 41. Right? That's the truth, isn't it? That's what I worry about him. No, it's taken so long to get there.
Sometimes with the Cuban defectors, it's good to have a look at their age, but also when they won their amateur.
Yeah.
Because some like Luis Ortiz
the World Championship 2006.
Yeah, he's 40, but he won a gold medal when he was 12. So he's 35 years of age, 36 in July.
So nowadays you don't even mention that now, do you? Because they go on forever, don't they? But it is one of those. I think it might be the case that his decline might be quick. That's what I'd say. But right now it's not there, and I think the quicker the Spence fight happens for him, the better. I still favour Spence. You'd have to favour Spence, but it's a hard fight for him. It's a hard fight for Crawford. Ugas is one of those fighters you don't want. Like when Conor Benn mentioned him, I don't think he watches him. He really mentioned it's just because he's not a massive name. Like if I had to choose who I was going to fight for the world title, I'm choosing Spence or Crawford. And this sounds really like lack of ambition here. Losing to Spence and Crawford is sort of okay. You're losing to like the people who people just rave about.
Yeah.
Losing to Ugas is still okay, but people outside, the people who really follow boxing, will go, you lost to the easy one. It's not the easy one. They'd rather lose to the guy everyone goes, you fought him though.
And it's sort of easy to slide his name in there, isn't it? When you're talking about these other opponents, you can say, you're Dennis Ugas. Nobody's going to be kind of your people outside that little bubble that we always talk about are not going to be kind of commanding that fight, really. They're not going to be screaming it from the rooftops, whereas if he comes out and he says he wants to box in Errol Spence or somebody like that, then that makes attention.
But you get Ugas to come, he can come to you. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Because he's not a drawer, is he, in any shape or form. So, really.
Not really. I mean,
whoever his promoters are, he's not a drawer to anything.
This next fight is going to be the one for him. Obviously, he beat Manny Pacquiao, but a version of Manny Pacquiao, I think it's fair to say. If he beats Errol Spence, then things could change for him.
But He's still not a draw though.
No, yeah.
I mean, he's a really world class fighter. Then he's brilliant. But just because you beat the guy, you don't take all his superpowers. No, you don't. Just because you beat him, you don't take all his popularity. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So you don't take his commercial value. You just take his record. You just take his undefeated record. You beat him. That's all. You take his title. You don't take anything else off him. So. And we've seen that time and time again. You lose, but then just because I beat you, I don't get the $5 million next fight that you were getting. I still get my $750,000 or whatever he gets, but he might get more. I hope he gets more. But that's how it is. That's how it works, unfortunately, because he still has to got to sell him to a wider audience, and I think that's difficult. So why would you fight him? To be fair, I give Spence credit. Why would you want to fight him unless you think he's an easy touch? Maybe they see things. But Spence is a favourite. The Spence of old, is very, very difficult to beat. By anyone in the last, at that weight, in the last 20 years. I'm not saying he's undefeated, but he's very hard to beat. He's really, very good.
You mentioned Jaron Ennis earlier. He's kind of like one half of what people are kind of dubbing the two to look out for. The other one being Virgil Ortiz Jr., who's boxing somebody know well and watched an awful lot of Michael McKinson over the recent years. First question on Virgil Ortiz is obviously, how do you see that fight playing out? It's a big ask for Michael McKinson.
It's a huge ask. It's a
big ask.
Everything about it going away. It's one of those like... it's that Darren Barker moment against, what's his name?
Martinez?
No, not Martinez, when he wins the world title. Daniel Gil, sorry.
Whether or not you were going for the superstar or the world title.
No, the world title. It's that one where you go away and everything's against you and you pull off the great win. But Ortiz is better than Gil. I know Gil was a two-time world champion.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
But I still think Ortiz is potentially better than him. It's hard. But McKinson is really tricky, and he's clever, and he hits harder than what people think. The reason he don't stop people is he don't hold his feet. He hits you, and I understand that, because I used to do it. He runs away, because that's his whole ethos, is like, make you miss, make you pay, make you miss again. That's all he thinks about. He's already thinking about the next move. He has to sort of like slow his brain down a bit, because these guys will walk through you. They get to a certain... and I found this, I can punch hard enough to keep you away, until I get to that top level, when I can't. Because I can punch hard enough to keep you away, but you shrug it off. Because unless I can put you on the floor, it doesn't keep you away. At the lower level, a solid right hand or a solid jab makes people reset. But at world level, that's just like, oops, do it again then. Right, watch this now. And that's, they think differently. These world-class athletes, these world champions, they think differently. They don't want to take a punch, but if it means they can hit you twice, they'll take it. Whereas at other levels, they go, maybe I don't want to take that. So he has to slow his brain down, to slow his feet down, to get some more purchase on his punches, without losing the foot speed.
Easier said than done.
How would you do it? I don't know. I tried. I couldn't do it. But that's why I think he struggles. He needs a bit more strength in his work and in his punches to stop someone like Ortiz walking right through him. But if he slows himself down, it allows Ortiz to walk right through him. It's a vicious circle. I can't see how he wins. I want him to win. I really like the kid, actually. And I like his dad. I like all about him. But it's not my job to pick people who I like. It's to pick who I think can win. And I think he might make it tricky and awkward. And I think he will show more resolve than what people think he has. But ultimately, I think Ortiz... I think it's going to be one of those Barry Jones-Freitas fights where McKinson gets loads of credit for getting up and fighting back and shows grit and determination, and even he didn't think he had, but ultimately he gets beat up and stopped.
Just outgunned.
Yeah, I think so. And I'd love to be wrong. I feel like I'm going to cry. I'd love to be wrong, like, to be honest, but I only see it that way.
One thing that I'd like your expert analysis on is one of the issue that I have in my head. I agree with everything you've just said, by the way, but one of the keys that I'm kind of mulling over in my head with that fight is dealing with the Ortiz jab. He has got his shotgun jab that he it's out there, it's solid, it comes back quick, it's an absolute weapon. If you're Michael McKinson or you're training or part of the training team for Michael McKinson, how do you deal with a jab when you've got an opponent whose jab's like a right hand? How does he deal with that? How does he negate that if he's able to?
Well, you got to get on the outside of it. You got to make it miss, which is what he does very well. But so you need to feint a lot because you need him to draw. You got to be constantly moving in and out, in and out. You need to be feinting, giving him different angles. You feint this way, but step out this way, so he can set himself. So when he does throw that jab, he's throwing it before he's ready, and that slows it down, or messes up the distance on the jab. I can't see him doing it, but I think that's what he needs if he does that. Because then if you take away the jab, then he's pot shotting from too far out. And if you can get around the side of the jab and take it away, then you can do some work. But it's so powerful that you want to get him to slip it outside the jab and come back with a shot. You're going to be just evading and getting away. Because you're going to feel, I know what that's like. Like when you get hit with you think, I'm going to do this against a certain guy, I'm going to make him miss and slip inside and make him pay. But you feel the weight or the wind or whatever it is, and it hits you once, and you go, the next time I'm going to evade that jab, it's going to be this way. Not this way in the line. Because McKinson can do quite well, and what you need to do against someone like that Ortiz is slip the punches as you come in. You've got to have confidence and let the punches come over you. Would you do that? With that jab? No, would you do that with his power? You wouldn't, but that's what you need to do. And that takes away his artillery by doing that. Because you're right on him, and then you're slipping inside and you're spinning around the track, and he can't find you. You got to turn to throw you, and that takes time, and he gets frustrated, and it slows down his work. You make a guy miss, and he panics inside, not outside. He panics inside, and then he gets more tense, and he tries harder to make that punch faster and more effective. But the harder you try, the more you tense, it slows it down, it shortens it up, because the muscles contract, and that's what you want him to do. So McKinson needs to do that, but he needs to do that and also be effective, because Ortiz won't throw one jab. Ortiz won't just throw one single shot. He'll throw in combinations, and he'll stay on you, and he'll work, and his feet will follow you quicker, and he'll get you on the rope at some point, and it'll be quickly. He won't miss and go. You might do that for the first couple of times, but in the end, you just go, I'll just keep throwing it, because he knows he can hurt you.
Yeah, for me, that's the thing that I'm most looking forward to. I felt like Kavaliauskas, while he had success, he hurt Ortiz. He never found a way to deal with that jab, and it just slowly broke him up through the middle rounds of the fight before obviously the fight was stopped. So that's kind of my expert analysis, my not so expert analysis that I'm going to be looking at for
you
that
watch
fight.
more fights than anyone I know, so to be fair.
Yeah.
Like I watched 3 rounds of McGowan and Martinez.
Did you?
Yeah.
After I told you,
yeah.
Did you? Which 3 rounds? The last 3?
No, the last one and a couple of the middle ones.
Which middle ones?
I can't remember.
4, 5, 4, 5. It looked like McGowan was actually.
No, maybe it was 5 and 6, and he had a decent round, and then he didn't have such a decent round.
Yeah, no. It was amazing that Sergio Martinez in that shape at 46 years old. Unbelievable.
It is.
Quite literally unbelievable.
It was no good to him.
Yeah, no, he's talking about fighting Gennady Golovkin next. Wouldn't fight him when he was in his mid-30s, but mid-40s. Why not? Brilliant, bring it on. Right, we've had enough of talking about actual boxing now, so we're going to talk about the heavyweight division, where there is no boxing, only politics. Now, this is going to go
pending?
This is going to go out on the Monday. Today being the Friday, we have heard of the purse bid won by Frank Warren's Queensberry Promotions. Uncle Frank pulled out the big bag,
Frank,
and dropped it on the table, $40-something million. I'm sure by the time this goes out, the situation would have completely changed, and this will be very, very much out of date. But let's say it isn't, and we get Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte. Talk to me about the fight, Barry.
About the fight or about the whole situation?
The fight. I can't be asked to talk about the whole situation again.
It's a good fight. I think it'll be a fun fight. I only see one winner, to be fair. Listen, heavyweight boxing, so you never know. And Fury, you got to. I think White won't care. First of all, they have to be hoping that this camp, that last fight that he had with Wilder, has put some miles on the clock for Fury. I'm not quite sure it has, or it will. Time will tell. But they have to hope that, because Fury has the movement, but now he's found the strength that he never had before. But he can still make you miss. And Dillian Whyte can punch, and he got a lovely snappy left hook, but his jab is slow. Actually, he got a good jab. He got a good jab when he fires it from the hip. It's snappy.
It's long. It's deceptively long.
But it's not as long as Fury's. That's
No,
the problem.
exactly.
But he don't use that one enough. He doesn't relax enough, and he pushes into it too much. And I think he brings it back slow and low. And I think that's just set up for Fury to work him over. I think, and he's crude. Well, because White's so committed to his attack. Once White's, that's why everyone loves watching Dillian Whyte, because once he decides to attack, he's going for it, which is fantastic, and gets himself out of trouble. He has in a few times doing that, but also he just makes so many mistakes and he'd be so crude. And he won't get away with that with Fury. You can get away with that with others, like Chisora, obviously, and Wilder, and what's the other heavyweight who lives in Watford, and Joshua, because they haven't got the brain that Fury has. I mean, they're good fighters, and Joshua's technically pretty good, to be fair, mind, but he hasn't got that brain, that to think on his feet that Fury has, and he'll just see too much. He'll see too many gaps. You just got to hope that he's underprepared, or he doesn't take it seriously, or he makes. Cause the thing with Fury, if he's too comfortable, he makes mistakes. That was the beauty and the worry of him when he, earlier on in his career, that you thought, he's brilliant, this kid's really good, but he's definitely going to get knocked out when he steps up a level, because he just gives you too many opportunities. But now he's more of a professional. The higher level he's got, the more disciplined he's become. Ironically, he hasn't sat in his laurels. He hasn't taken things for granted. Okay, he had those 2 fights in between, the Wilder fight, where the one of them he didn't look so great against
Wallen.
No, I was going to say Schwartz, was Wallen.
Schwartz was the 2 round.
Yeah, against Wallen, of course. But then Wallen might not be a decent fighter. But either way, it'll be a fun fight, and it'll be so, because White will fully commit. But I can't see anyone but Fury winning by stoppage.
Do you think we see the quote unquote new Fury or the old Fury with regards to?
We never see the old Fury again. You don't go back to dancing around like that anymore. Never. This is him now. I mean, he'll move better in certain fights. He might have to do it against Dillian Whyte, to be fair, but he never goes back to being that. I used to say his strength was negating what you do and then going to work. He doesn't need to do that. He's bypassed that level now. He can go to work now without negating what you do. It doesn't matter, because he feels strong and confident that he can block shots. He can block shots now than he didn't used to before. He just covered up. So he's covering up and blocking shots are 2 different things. It seems the same, but it's not. Because you're blocking, when you cover up, you're just protecting yourself. When you're blocking, it's with a view to do something. It's different. I mean, just made that up as well, but I think that's true. No, it is. That's how and that's how he thinks now. Every time he takes a shot, when he takes it or he blocks it, he's thinking about, is there a tag at the hit? I can do something back now. Where before he was always thinking, oh, make you miss, frustrate you, like that sort of that really boring masterclass he put on against Klitschko, which was fantastic. It was horrible to watch. To sit at home, I sat at home and watched that, and it wasn't the greatest 36 minutes of my life. But he did the right thing to beat the guy at the right time. But now, the Fury now wouldn't have done that. He still would have beat Klitschko. He would have probably stopped him, actually. But he still would have beat Klitschko, and he would have made him miss still. But it wouldn't have been from dancing around, making him miss from here. He'd be confident, he'd be more in control, stronger with the jab, pushing you back, making you throw punches off your back foot, rather than being coming forward. He wasn't afraid to be in the fire line against the biggest punching heavyweights on the planet right now. Not of all time, like people say, one of them, but right now against Wilder. So, and also he beat the same guy 3 times. And by the way, Fury's legacy is off 2 fighters, really, to be honest. And certainly recently just off the 1 fighter for 3 fights. But he beat the same fighter 3 different ways. I know the first one was a draw, but everyone thought he won. Yeah. He got too many things to do, but he'll never dance. He'll never be like that again. He'll never do that again. He doesn't need to. He forgot about that now. Why don't I need to be like that? I'm excited now. and it's easy for him. That Wilder fight I think it was physically tough, and there was times there where you think, oh, you get hurt and caught, yeah. But there was still an overall sense that he's always going to win, to me. Would you feel the same?
Yeah, I did actually watching it. The only time where I didn't feel like it was the second knockdown.
Yeah.
The second knockdown, I thought, oh shit, he might not get up here. But that split second, the rest of the fight as well. I kind of had this conversation earlier actually with Adam Smith, who's just left.
Did he go? Oh, I just missed him. He took my job.
No, so we sat here and I did an hour and a half pitch to him why Barry Jones should be the new face of Sky Sports boxing. not just commentator or analyst, like the face on the poster. So you got Eubank here, Josh Taylor there, and then you in the middle. What do you reckon?
Fair enough.
He said he'd let me know. So, we wait to hear what goes on with that. But no, I have forgotten now completely what I was going to say.
It was about the. Do you ever feel like he was ever going to lose the fight?
Yeah, no, I didn't feel like he was ever going to lose the fight. And I was saying to Adam Smith, thank you very much, that he pretty much. I mean, the first round, Wilder came out, he let his hands go. I think Fury was kind of, well, what's this? We've got this. Wilder looked like a big action man, didn't he? Coming out and throwing the jab to the body, and it's obviously not something that we've seen from him. End of the first round, Fury lands that 1-2. Second round, pretty much all Fury, knocks him down in the third, gets tagged in the fourth, and then after that, it was kind of, barring the occasional shot, I know Wilder hit him with an uppercut at the end of, I think, the 9th or the 10th, but it was pretty much one-way traffic after that. So it wasn't a back and forth fight to the degree that I think is kind of romanticised over now and looked back upon. I think more of the fight was pretty one-sided, so I don't think it would have taken as much out of Fury as potentially people may hope or expect.
Yeah, and also, like, it's all he does. Like, by the way, he doesn't do other stuff. Like, this is his life. Like, it's all he knows. So I think them sort of things won't really put miles on his clock. How do you approach a guy? Like, he gets up. That's the thing. Like, there's a few fighters who could, there's loads of them actually, but I mean, it's a special fighter who can just get up. Remember when Kawasaki got hit by Byron Mitchell? Yeah. I've said this before, I'm like, he jumped up. I'm ringside, I was working for the radio at the time, for Radio Whale. I'm screaming, like, I forgot I was working. Take the knee, I did it against Fury. You can hear me in the commentary in the background. I took the microphone down because John Rowland did a great job commentating the whole last round on his own, bless him. And I was just a fan. But you can hear me going, I thought he was so far ahead, Fury, that he could have took a knee again, and still win the fight comfortably. And I'm going, you can hear me shout my little squeaky voice, take a knee. He would have lost the fight if he would have took a knee.
Imagine that answer to afterwards. I listened to that Barry Jones.
Little midget in the corner there screaming. Okay, I was in his corner, by the way, by his corner, but like, he recovers. That's a gift. That's not something you can train for like that. You can do certain things to train. They try and get the blood pumping back in your body and stuff like that by squeezing your legs and your hands. Your feet and your hands, but literally, you can. Your powers of recovery. Each person's are different, and I mean, Joe did that with Byron Mitchell. He got up wobbly. Oh, what are you doing? And then literally, he's fine.
Yeah, snaps out of it.
And same with Fury. So, like, White's got to think, I can't just hit him with a great shot. But by the way, just because Wilder hits much harder than any other heavyweight, doesn't mean that I'm terrible with names tonight. Doesn't mean that White can knock him spark out. Fury spark out, by the way, he can. He has a snappy left hook. If he catches him right, you don't see it, he goes to sleep. But you got to nail him to the canvas. It's hard. And you got to do a lot of work to get to him.
Is there a way that Dillian Whyte could win the fight by decision?
No, there's not. No. He was losing against Usyk-Joshua on points. I like Whyte. As a person and as a fighter, he's great to watch. But no chance. I can't see how he beats... No. Like, why would you ask that?
Just a question, Barry. You can say yes.
I know.
Multiple knockdowns?
What?
Technical decision?
Oh, yeah, but that's not...
No, that counts. Listen, where you put a bet down and you put on the decision.
No, can he beat him on points in a... No, I can't see any way how he does, to be honest. Unless Fury sprains his ankle and his wrist. No, he doesn't. He can knock Fury out, and that's his only option. And I think White will try and box him a little bit. He won't just go crazy, but ultimately with Whyte, he'll go for it.
Yeah, and I think like he said the same thing after the Joshua Usyk fight, where he said that he could never see himself losing like Joshua did to Usyk. If it isn't working, if he's trying to box with Fury in this instance, it would be, and the fight's not going his way, he would abandon caution. And I think personally that's how probably the fight goes, Fury-Whyte. I think they start boxing, and I think the more that's not working for Whyte, the more he throws caution to the wind and he gets stopped. Personally,
I think Fury puts it right on him. I think Whyte wants to go out and make a statement, but I think Whyte thinks I go out here now, I got to put it on him. Obviously, I got to get close, I got to hurt him and all that. You haven't got to get that close, but you got to get inside his reach. But I got to be the one pressuring him. Or drawing him onto me. I'm trying to get him that long left. That don't work either. But he's got to think that. But he's still going to think, I got to box my way in. If I just walk in, I'm just going to walk into his punches. I'm not stupid. But I think Fury's going to go, I'm going to run out and go right on him. He's going to think, I'm going to stand back and wait for him to walk onto shots. But I'm going to put it right on him. See how he likes it. Because Fury thinks he can punch now. And I think he can punch now.
Yeah, of course he can.
So, but before, we never said that. Every heavyweight can punch, but he wasn't a puncher. But he's starting to hold his feet now and turn from the core, and he's not on his toes anymore. He's flat-footed, pushing off the back leg. Put a bit more weight in the shots. It's a different Fury. So I think he goes right out and goes out, and he's punching going forward now as well. But he always punches going back. So.
One thing that we haven't seen from Tyson Fury in a long time. You remember he used to flick with the back of the jab.
Yeah.
Not seen that.
No.
When was the last time you seen Fury flicking with a jab?
Yeah, no, he don't do that. No, not since. No, he's a cronk fighter now, isn't he?
I don't think we didn't really see it in the Tom Schwartz fight. The Wallin fight, no, because it had to kind of abandon everything and come forward. And we didn't see it in the two Wilder fights after.
And that's another thing with Fury. He can dog it out.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So where Whyte sometimes will go, okay, you're better than me, you're better than that. But ultimately, I'm a dog, like, so I'll just drag you into the trenches, and you can't live with me. And he can do that, Whyte. Not with Fury, he can't. Even if he hurts him and has success or has a better of those exchanges, Fury won't give in. That's the thing. He won't make him quit. He won't break his soul. He can't break his heart. That he just can't. I don't see it. That's the thing. I don't. I think I'm not a massive Fury. I'm a fan of Fury. I'm not a huge Fury fan. But the more I think about it, I do think he's a bit special. Actually, not just good. To be honest, I do. He just doesn't look the part. No, he's not in great shape, and some of his moves are good, but they're ungangly a little bit. So he doesn't look really. No, he's not like he doesn't float like a Sugar Ray Leonard or a Muhammad Ali. You know, that's the yeah. But what he does is clever. It's all clever. Even when he makes a mistake, it's because he's trying to do clever things at times. So yeah, because he's always trying to be imaginative. I could have said that like 14 fights before.
We'll blame Acelino Freitas for that one. Right, before we wrap things up, it looks as though it has now left the door open for Joshua Usyk 2 amidst all of the step-aside stuff. Again, if this is going out on Monday and that's not the case, then I'm not a mind reader, I can't tell the future, but it looks as though Joshua versus Usyk again.
I'd love to see Joshua. Like, people seem to dislike Joshua all of a sudden. He's like the darling of British boxing, and now everyone hates him. I don't see why. I don't give him a chance. I hope in hell. I think Usyk does a better job, if anything. To be honest, I really do. Even if Joshua tries to go back to being like he should have fought like he used to be before. He should have fought that way. But even if he does that, I don't think he'd be good enough. I don't, and that's nothing wrong with that. Just guys better than you. It's simple.
We've all spoke about kind of the confidence. Sorry to interrupt. The confidence of Anthony Joshua maybe not having the same confidence as before. I'm not sure losing at least 8 rounds of a 12-round fight and losing in the way he did is going to really help that at all.
No, but why do everyone hate him? I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the the British way.
When he beat Klitschko, right, his speech. If there was, he beat Klitschko. He didn't beat him as good as Fury beat him, but he beat him in a better fight.
More spectacular fashion.
Better fight. Yeah. It was a great fight, wasn't it? It was fantastic. In a massive arena, stadium, and all. It was brilliant. And his speech after was what you want from a beacon of the sport, an idol of the sport. That's what you want. to all these kids. It's not about, I'm not the best, but I work hard. It might all be written. It might all be written. Who cares? He said all the right things. Every kid. I wanted to go to the gym on a Sunday and punch the bag and spar. So imagine every young amateur boxer who saw that, listened to that speech, would down the gym the next day, guaranteed. Oh, look at this! I'm going to be the very best, and he's right. I'm going to be the very, very best, and you just got to try it and keep going, and keep going, and keep going, and be 6'6" and be able to punch as well. By the way, Anthony, you're not telling the full story. But I don't know why everyone hates him. I want him to win. I like Usyk. Everything about Usyk. He's a brilliant character. He's funny. I don't know him. He's funny, and he's a great boxer. And he's brilliant. And he's done only 2 fighters before I've ever done ever. But no, to move up from cruiserweight. But I'd love to see Joshua win. I still want to see Joshua Fury, and I still want to see it. There's only one winner. But I fancy Fury all the time. I fancy him more now, like massively more.
Yeah.
But if Joshua did a real job on Usyk,
chins Usyk in 3 rounds, and then maybe White gives
no,
Fury a
don't
hard fight.
Don't chin him in 3 rounds.
Okay.
Chins him in 7 in a competitive fight. That's better. I mean, you are because he's not getting.
I'm talking pure hyperbole.
Oh yeah,
make
of course,
the fight
yeah.
as big as possible.
Listen, we're gonna make words up, mate. Like, let's not making words up. But I want him to to show I can box now better than what you think I can box. But still, I haven't lost that. I still got it. That animal in me to want to just like walk right through you and destroy you, and that's what he needs to do. It might not be enough. I don't think it's enough. I don't think he wins. All that stuff I said about him, I don't think he wins.
Do you think the fight's going to happen? Would you advise Anthony Joshua to go straight back into it?
The thing is now, where does he go? He sits on the bench otherwise, and also
he's still Anthony Joshua. He's still going to get a lot of people paying to watch him fight, whoever he fights.
He is though, but I don't know.
I had this conversation with Chris McKenna of the Daily Star, and obviously mandatories. There is one real mandatory challenger in every division. The guy who brings the fucking money with them.
Yes.
And Anthony Joshua brings the money. So I think he could fight a Trevor Bryan.
See, him losing to Usyk does nothing to his career.
I mean, I don't agree with that. What do you mean?
He fights Wilder next if he wants to, in a huge fight that would do massive figures, and he still earns 20, 30, whatever he earns now, he still earns that. And then if he beats Wilder, he still gets the Joshua fight, the winner of Joshua Usyk. He still gets that fight. The heavyweight division is a division you can recycle the fighter, and this is not figured. This is literally until his legs fall off, or her. They don't have heavyweight division.
Literally until his legs fall off.
Not figuratively, literally until his legs fall off. Derek Chisora is a prime example of that.
Yeah, his legs.
Derek Chisora was finished in 2015, 14, 13, 12, 17, 16, and he's kept going. But listen, and he's a bit of an enigma actually, because he's gone on and had gone better. When he's looked worse, he's also become better. But still, he's kept going when his career was over and over and done with forever. So Joshua can keep going. He's the money side. He's always going to be the ace side because he's the money. And he'll be the money for a long, long time, even if he loses 3-4 fights on a trot. Maybe not quite that, but know. But if you do, this would be 2 fights on a trot, and 3 in the last 5, maybe something like that, probably.
Pulev in between the 3 in the last 6.
Okay, 3 in
beat Ruiz.
So he's 3-3.
Yeah.
If he loses this next one now, that's awful.
People keep talking about the PR of him stepping aside. I think a PR disaster would be taking the rematch and getting stopped.
Yes.
I think that's worse than stepping aside, personally. If he's got a new trainer, I could understand it.
But it's how you get stopped. I think it affects him badly if he gets stopped. I understand that, because you get stopped by a smaller guy and, Fury would have battered you and all this. But if you don't care what people say, but if it's a good fight to watch and he gets stopped, he's still a marketable fighter. That's how it works. Because you go, him and White now would be a good fight. White gets beat by Fury.
Yeah.
But I know but what a good fight that is. Whoa.
Yeah, don't like each other as well, so you could say that.
Could look at White and Chisora. That fight had no relevance, really, because White was really, except for, because Chisora wanted to take White's place.
We're a few weeks away from seeing a domestic fight that everybody's interested in with no titles and no real relevance on the world stage in Carlton Brook. So yeah. But anyway, unfortunately, Barry, that's all we've got time for. But we managed a whole podcast without talking about step-asides and things. Well, yeah, I kind of touched on it a little bit. We managed it. We safely negotiated it.
Did I say pivot?
You didn't.
I have now.
There you go. We have to get one in. It's in his contract at Boxing Social, one for every episode. But no, that's all we've got time for today. So thank you very much for tuning in, and obviously to you as well for coming along. Barry, former WBO super featherweight champion. If you've got any work for him, just pop it in the comments. We'll be sure to pin it for you. But from me, Rob Tebbutt, from him, the unemployed Barry Jones, thanks very much for stopping by, and we'll speak to you soon.